Hey there, happy Tuesday. Thanks for joining me here tonight. We are going to continue the Quilt As You Go process. So these have already been quilted, and clearly it's not a whole quilt yet, but we are in the process of sewing our pre-quilted blocks together. We started it last night and we are finishing the stitching of the back. So I'll review that with you guys in a sec here. So thank you for joining me. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make cute embroidery kits for the beginning crafter. And I am here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And it's a time that we can relax and craft together. So I'm here for about an hour and I work on projects from beginning to end so you can be part of the entire process along the way. So thanks again, guys, for joining me. We are continuing on the Splendid Sampler 2 Quilt As You Go process. We started it last night, these particular blocks, and I'm having fun. We're stitching them together. It looks like a finished quilt. So all right, you guys, let's get going. Okay, so this is what we have done so far. So just to review, we had some shapes like this. Here's an example where we sewed 4 of our blocks from the Splendid Sampler 2 together, and we put some sashing, which is that just that border in between blocks, plus a little square in the middle. And that has become the piece that we then quilt. So this is already completely quilted, but you know, it's small. It's not the finished quilt, right? So we've been taking these smaller blocks that we've quilted and then combining them using the Quilt As You Go process. So here's 2 of these and they're now together. You can see from the front that we have connected it with a sashing piece. So that's not quilted, that's the connecting piece. It looks very similar to the sashing pieces that we did quilt. And then on the back, we have basically a little binding strip. It's basically a flap that we're now closing the raw edges with. And so that will just look just like this. So we have a couple rows that we have done, or started at least. So here's an example of the back of one that we have the whole row done. So here again are those binding strips. Can barely tell, especially the ones that I hand stitched. I think those really blend in. And then the front, you know, it just looks like our just like a row of the quilt, right? A couple rows of the quilt. You wouldn't even know unless you knew the process and were really digging. So yeah, so this is what we're doing for the Splendid Sampler 2. And tonight I am going to just keep working on stitching, hand stitching these this binding strip on. And I'm going to do that by, I'll hold it a little bit up, but I found that this has been worked the best for me by having it on the ground like this and kind of stitching on a flat surface. So I think that's how I'm going to do it. Oh, and I wanted to remind you guys that our embroidery of the months are still happening. We have 2 embroidery of the months this month. We got the cute little pumpkin guy that comes with the tea towel, and we also have our little Batty bat. This one comes with the little small hoop and everything. So be sure to check that out. Next week we will be starting to stitch these. So if you get it, you know, probably around by tomorrow, you'll probably still have it in time to work on it with us live here next week. So we're going to start with this one and see how far we get. And then if we finish, I'll do this one as well. Otherwise, we might pop in some Saturday and stitch this whole guy. Whoop. All right. So let's get going on this. Reading your comments. Hello, everyone. Oh, yes, I have a jacket on today. It is chilly. I think it just got over 50 degrees today. But, you know, other times of the year, that would have been like a heat wave here. But yeah, it was crispy. Oh, Kathy, we should. And we'll be, if we run out of the bundles, we'll be making more this month. So, but it is still just till the end of the month, and then they go away. All right, so I'm going to show you guys a little bit of what I'm doing here before I get too far. I think I can hold it kind of like this and show you. Actually, I could probably just do it like this. So I am making a bunch of little stitches across here, and how I'm doing that is I'm coming up. I'm in the flap. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see how close I can get, but like I'm right in the flap, and then I'm going to just cross over. So I'm basically in the same spot, but now I'm only in the back. Like right like that. I'm right next to the stitch, and then I'm going to kind of angle up and come back up into that binding strip, you know, a little less than a 1/4 inch away, so a stitch length away. So I'm going from the back into the front, and what that's going to do is it's going to make a teeny tiny little stitch that's pretty invisible, and that's our stitch. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm right now in the binding. I'm going to go just to the back and come angle up into the front, back into the binding. And I'm using the seam, that line from where we sewed the front piece onto it, I'm using that as a guide to where I'm trying to stretch the binding. So I cover that up. And we're going to just keep going down the row like this. Carol says, hello from cold, rainy Wisconsin. Tracy says it's 37 degrees by her. Hooey, man. Yeah, it got crispy all of a sudden, but it's kind of super duper refreshing too. Okay, Tracy's on YouTube is asking, have I machine sewn any on the back? I have machine sewn. I think I did one on this grouping here. Yeah, here we go. So this one, I don't think I'm doing a great job at machine sewing it, but this one is machine sewn on instead. So you'll get a little bit of a flap. If you did this backwards, like if you do the flap so it's on the front and the non-flap side on the back, then I could, sew on a little bit better. But I'm kind of doing this blind. Like I was sewing this on the front, and if I would have done it on the back, I could have gotten a little bit closer to this edge. But this one is machine sewn, and still totally fine. Took 2 seconds, so not a bad idea to just machine sew it either. So yeah, so I've done it I think once or twice in this process, but not a ton. I kind of like this hand stitching. So instead of kind of laying it flat, I do like laying it flat on a surface, and I can pull it over and make my little stitch. But actually holding it how I was, just kind of folding this flap, folding that other side over so I can actually get my hand around it. This has actually worked pretty well. I think I'm going to continue like this for the rest of the evening here. Well, not the rest of the evening, just till we finish this. I don't think this will take the whole time. Yeah, I like it better hand sewn, Gina, too. And this is the part that I really like doing is just this hand stuff. I mean, this can get grueling if you are doing it for a long time, or if you're under like a time constraint or something, like, oh, I gotta get this whole quilt done by tomorrow for a gift or something, then it would be stressful. Then I would straight up go for the just machine sewn for sure. But I do like hand sewing. Oh, so I'm crossing these over a little bit. I'm trying to still keep it flat. Okay. I should have gotten a thimble today too, I think. I don't have it near me. My nice new thimble that I got, I have with a project. It's with my, I have a little mini hand quilting project from that swan that we did ages ago, that swan embroidery. I should get that. That should come out again as a Finish It Friday project, do some more hand quilting on it. But I have my thimble with that project, so I don't have a nice thimble on me. I'm not catching the batting. All I'm really doing, Carol, is, I mean, and this is my first time doing it, so maybe there's more, I'm positive there's more tricks to this Quilt As You Go than what I'm doing. I'm not catching the batting unless I do it by accident. All I'm really doing is covering up the raw edges. So by sewing that other piece on, that sashing piece on, we have a 1/4 inch of, you know, the front and back end batting on each side of that. And since our piece is a 1/2 inch, both of those 1/4 inch pieces kind of just come together. And all I'm doing is just covering it. So I'm not like whip stitching them together. I'm not like full on attaching them to anything really. I'm just covering it up. I'm just hiding those stitches. So yeah, I don't know, maybe there is something, maybe I am supposed to be getting the batting together somehow. I'm not sure. This is how I've been doing it, just a covering up process really. And I may have sewn this a little too much in the quilt, like I'm not getting all the way to that that stitched edge on all of it, like the line that I'm going for. So let me know if any of you guys have done Quilt As You Go or are like Quilt As You Go pros, because I'm sure there's a lot to be learned yet. The Splendid Sampler 2, the project that we're working on here, the Quilt Along, this, I'm using this quilt project as an excuse to try out the Quilt As You Go process. And so far, I'm totally digging it. The best part is that these are already quilted and together and done. So that's awesome. I'm not going to have to sandwich a whole giant quilt together later. I'm just going to have to do this part, like just do some of these binding strips. I mean, I'm going to have to do it for the whole long width of the quilt at some point to get all the rows together. But still, that again, I do like this hand stitching stuff, so that'll just be like a fun time, just chilling, watching a movie. Actually, it'll probably be here, but maybe I'll, you know, do a row or two and we'll just do one here or something. But yeah, this is like the perfect, just sit and do your stitching. Like if you like binding a quilt, like hand binding a quilt, this is just kind of a very similar process and feeling. Oh, Sylvia, that's a good point too. So Sylvia says, I like the manageable amount of free motion. Yes, so that is huge. So we're only quilting these little like 13-inch blocks, these squares. We're not trying to maneuver a whole giant amount of fabric through our sewing machine or anything. And so it allowed me to practice. So that was the other objective with this quilt for me. I always have some sort of game plan for the quilt. So it was learning the free motion quilting, or learning the Quilt As You Go process, and then practicing my free motion quilting on these smaller little squares versus a whole quilt. So it just allowed for play, or just like, let's try this motif that I've never tried before, or let's practice feathers without committing to doing it on a whole quilt. You know what I mean? So I could just play around a whole lot more, and that's been just really fun for this quilt as well. I feel like I got a ton of practice in. And I mean, you know, when it's done, it's going to look crazy. Like it'll just have all sorts of different types of quilting. You know, it's going to be connected by these crazy little binding strips. I've had to repair a lot along the way, and I'll show you some of that when I'm done. But still, it's still exciting, and it's still awesome that it's going to be like quilted by the time I'm done with the blocks. It's nice. So fun process for sure. I would most definitely do it again. That's kind of my gauge. I like trying things out. And then if I like it enough that, you know what, I would give this another go, that means it's going to turn into something I really like. There's some projects that I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it now, but I can live without it. There's some things like that. But if I'm excited enough to want to do another project with it, then it's a winner for me. And worth the trying it out. Kathy says, everyone will look at the back to see the quilting instead of the front. I know, it's just kind of crazy because there's a ton of quilting because, you know, we aren't doing big, far apart quilting, which is a challenge for me. I want to practice that, like more big, airy quilts. We're just treating each thing as its own thing. Like, you know, here we got tons of pebbles, little circles all over it, but definitely on the back, you can just, I mean, look, in this one you can see all those little flowers and swirls right away versus on the front where, you know, you can still see it, but it's more hidden. So yeah, you flip to the back and you'll have this pretty kind of yellow, sunshiny yellow that you can see tons of the quilting in right away. That's actually the effect that I want for our triangle tango quilt, which is still not done either, but it's sandwiched and ready to quilt. But that's the one that I wanted to draw beforehand, what the quilting should be, because I've never done that. I've never like drawn a quilting motif and then tried to quilt to that. So I thought it'd be fun to draw out a whole big design, at least the outlines of it, at least, you know, maybe I just decide, okay, this area is going to be filled with, you know, swirls or something, or this one's going to be filled with flowers. Maybe I don't draw all that, but I wanted to lay it all out and give that a go because I've never done that before. But it's the same effect. So I think for that quilt, the back is like a really bright green, if I remember right. I'm just trying to get a better grip on this. And so I want to be able to flip it to the back and see the whole motif of quilting. I think that'll be fun. I'm tempted to just kind of quilt it from the back, but I think I'll do it from the front still, just because I'm going to use the grid of the blocks, like the quilt blocks. I'm going to use that grid to help me draw the design on, I think. Oh, did someone ask what size this would be? I think this is going to be a queen, even with, well, actually, now that I think of it, maybe it would only be a queen if I put borders on. So the end size is going to be, of each block is 6 inches. And I'm going to do 10, there's 100, so I'm going to do 10 by 10. So that's only a 60 by 60 inch quilt. And then I do have some sashing, but that's only going to add like another inch or two. That's going to add like 2 more inches, so like 62, 63 inches. So that's not quite a queen size. I think queen size is closer to 80 inches by 80 inches. Let me know. Isn't that closer to queen size? So we're still quite a bit off from queen size, unless I do borders, which I could, but I'm not entirely wanting to do that. Because I think, so let me know if you guys have done Quilt As You Go. Won't I have to do Quilt As You Go borders too, and then have like a long seam to attach those? By that point, I might not want to deal with any more sewing on of things, but it might be worth it to make it a queen size, because otherwise it'll be just kind of like a quirky lap size. Yeah, it'll be a big lap quilt, exactly, Leslie. Oh, thanks, Maria. Maria says it's looking so good, and the hand stitching does make a nice appearance. Yeah, I do think it makes it just a little bit more invisible. I mean, you can see each one of my stitches still, but from far away, I think it makes it look like it blends in a little bit more. It just looks like it's from far away, just kind of part of all the free motion quilting, and it's fun. I do like. I don't know if it's fun, but this is like the like mellow. Just chill out and stitch part, like the good meditative stitching. So I am kind of bending this over, so I can't on accident go all the way through and like hook a little bit on that side, but I'd have to go through the fabric quite a bit to do that, so I'm not totally worried about that. I mean, I am just kind of staying on the surface, so I am just trying to get just that back fabric. I'm not like digging down, really. We're just hooking that back fabric and coming back up to the front. And going back in the same basic area, except just on the back. And we're getting there. So, yes, the hand stitching does take quite a bit longer, but it's nice. It's the relaxing part for sure. Oh, I'm missing a little bit of this conversation, but I'm guessing the question was, what am I going to use to draw on the quilting for the triangle tangle quilt? I don't know if that's actually someone saying like a chalk pen. I think I do have a chalk pen, I think, but I was just going to use a water-soluble marker and just like scribble it on, because I think I'm going to draw it. I'm going to eyeball it. I'm going to do one of those things where you draw a picture and it's got on a small grid like this, and then you take the bigger grid thing and you try and draw everything that's in that one grid shape, and then you do it on the bigger thing. I think I'm going to do that. So I'm going to just kind of rough it out with a water-soluble marker, because I think if I use chalk, it'll kind of rub off as I stitch. So we'll do the water-soluble marker and then just get it really wet, hope it comes off. Oh, okay, so nope, that's not what you guys are talking about. You're talking about tracing, about transferring a fabric to dark, or transferring a design to dark fabric. You can use white carbon paper. There definitely is, Leslie Ann, there is white carbon paper, and I actually just bought myself some. So I use the Serral paper, so you can look for this. It also comes in, I'm just grabbing this, it also comes in a sample pack. I should try, I've been trying to actually locate some of these so I can have them in the shop. Right now, I haven't found a place to do it, but this has different colors in, so you can do it on black fabric, and then this is white. So this would work. This is on a roll, kind of like tissue paper, or like Reynolds wrap or something. So this is a whole row of it. So that should last a bajillion years. But yes, so it's that Serral brand, S-A-R-A-L, and they do make white, and it's amazing. I love it so much. So that is a great, great product if you have a tricky fabric in the sense that I guess it works best if you need to transfer something to a dark fabric that you don't necessarily want to get wet. So like I wouldn't like always want to use the sulky stick and stitch because that sticks on and then it comes off with water. But if I didn't want to deal with that stickiness or the having to get my fabric wet, that Serral works great. And I've used that on felt before too. It can be actually a little tricky. You need a hard surface to use it on. So actually felt is probably not the best way to use it. But yeah, if you want it on dark fabrics, that works super duper duper well. Super easy. Oh, so Mary on YouTube says, I did the Splendid Sampler 1 this way and absolutely love it. I did not add borders. Oh, okay, good. And it's a perfect size for snuggling under. Ugh, that's what I wanted to hear, Mary. Okay. Yep, I'm just not sure. Like, I think I'll just want to be done with it by the time I'm done. You know, I don't think I'm going to have the patience to add a whole border onto it. So, okay, that's great information. So I can do it just like this, and it'll just be a nice big lap quilt. I tend to use lap quilts around the house more often. Honestly, we got so many quilts around here. I don't know if I really need another one, but I'm still learning, and I still want to make them. All right, so I'm just going to kind of tie a knot here, and we will be done. Forgot how to tie that figure 8 knot. I'm going to have to work on that. But, all right, I'm just going to kind of tuck it in. This will all be sewn into the quilt eventually. But there we are. I'm going to get Zeb again. Zeb is our friendly needle holder. All right, and snip this off. Here's my scissors hiding under my scraps there. Okay, and there we go. We have 2 more pieces together. They are attached, and you know, this I can just trim. Well, I'll probably leave it for now, but ultimately that will all get cut off. So, all right, I think, oh, that's true. Colleen's saying, although I would have a nice quilting opportunity with borders. I know that popped in my head. I'm like, does that outweigh me being done? That's kind of what I'm going to have to think about. But I got so much time to figure that out because we got a long, like I have blocks to make yet. So, all right, this one has now 2 in. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, we actually need to add another one to this. I still have 2 unused, but ready to go quilted blocks here. And I think we only have like 1 finished row. So this is where I'm at. So I think I'm just a hair over halfway. So this row is done. It has 5 segments in, which means I have 10 across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a finished row here. So ultimately, when we have more than 1 finished row, which maybe we put 1 to the end of this, then we'll have 2 complete rows. But then we'll be doing this whole process across an entire row. So that's going to be tricky, just because we're working big again, and it looks like, I'm going to have to make some repairs on some of these. So like by repairs, I mean that my block didn't end up big enough, so I got to add extra there, sort of like how we did yesterday. So here's an example of one of those repairs that we did yesterday. I put a white piece on top there. You can actually see a repair here, this little white sliver. We added that yesterday before we did our strip. This down here is a little fix. So we're going to have to do a lot of those just going across. Yeah, like this one could use it. Well, this one we might get away with. But some we're not going to get away with. Like this, we're going to need a thing, and all the way down this side for sure. So we'll have to make all those repairs for both rows if we haven't done it already. And yeah, then we're going to need to make a sashing strip with the little squares in it that goes all the way across. So that's quite a bit. And then we're going to have to clip it all together and make sure we sew it really well. And then we're going to actually need to cut, since I haven't cut any of those yet, I'm going to need to cut and probably sew together pieces so it's the entire width of this as well. So I don't know if I'm quite ready for all of this yet, but we could try and, wow, let's get organized again here. We could try and sew that 5th block on our like row number 2 or potential row number 2. So this one's done. The one, let's see, this is the one that has 4 on. And we could actually lay this out on the floor and like make actual decisions on what goes where, but I've been just kind of grabbing and going. So like, you know, we could put this guy there, which isn't, that looks kind of cute actually. I think we have another, don't we have another, do we have another elephant in here somewhere? I swear we did another elephant. What am I thinking of? Not another elephant here. We have the horse. Oh, that's what I'm thinking of. We have an elephant right there. that's just in the fabric. All right, so these are the 2 that we put together today and yesterday. I'm going to just let this one hang out with it. And why don't we try and get something on the end? Like, let's try and put these 2 together. And it looks like this may have been repaired and sized already. We didn't do that last week, or yesterday. So I must have done that last month or something, or at some point this has been trimmed to that 11 inches. Dang, we are ready for this one. Ugh, we don't have to do anything. Let's just get going. Oh, that's great. Okay, good. So we'll actually be able to get pretty far on this tonight. So I'm just going to fold up the rest of this because it's a bulky. There we go. All right, so I'm going to finish a row here. So we're going to do the same process, but I'm going to take this grouping from the row, and we are going to attach it to this group. So we need our strip for the back. So this is going to be for the back. Again, this should probably be cut to the size of our blocks, which is 13 inches, but for some reason I must have just not cross-cut it and figured, meh, it'll be fine. So we'll just leave that as is. And then I need my pieces for the front. So my 2 sashing pieces. And that, let's just pick one. I got some laying here. And then our little cornerstone for the center. So when sashing comes together with a little square, that's called a cornerstone. So all these are like little cornerstones. So first up, we need to sew these 2 together and then press, and we will have to press this guy as well. So, all right, let's do some sewing. All right, where'd they go? Right here. So let's get these guys together. Yay, we're gonna get another row done. So we will have 2 full rows, so it'll be like 5 rows. It's actually 10 rows if you're looking at the individual blocks, because it's going to be 10 by 10 for 100 blocks, but I'm thinking of them as like 5 by 5 because we're doing them in groups. So we'll have 2 of the 5 rows done. And then we've already sewn together 2 more, and I think we have 1 extra, so that'll be a 3rd row that will have 3 in. So, dang, we're still just barely cresting the halfway point on this because I have no other finished blocks. So we're going to have to get sewing those. Well, it's kind of fun to switch off between actually making the individual blocks and this Quilt As You Go stuff, because this feels like you're getting really far along before you trudge back to make blocks. where you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm still making blocks. But that's how it goes. And it's fun. I enjoy it when I'm making the blocks, but when I get to this part, I'm like, oh, let's get this guy done. Maybe I'm just feeling like an unfinished project zone, so I don't know. Maybe we gotta pull out some more of our... We need more like Finish It Fridays, pull out our unfinished projects and move those along. I get like that every once in a while. Every once in a while, it's just like, it is time to get all of the projects done, and I can't deal with stuff hanging out anymore. All right, let's just scooch these out of the way a hair. We really don't need this cutting mat out anymore. I'm going to just scooch it out of the way. Try and clean up a little bit as I go. I already have this pile of fluff from yesterday. Okay, get my little pressing mat out. We might need that scissors still. I'll hang it up. It's tough working in a little small space like this sometimes. All right, so we need to press these seam allowances so they're flat. I think we'll just go like this. And then this one, we're actually going to, let's go this way. We're actually going to fold it in half. And that will be like our little binding strip for the back. So again, if you're using a fabric that has a pattern on it, like if it has like a light colored side and the pattern, you know, like these do, you have the pattern on there, and then the back is just the wrong side is that white color. You want the bright color, the pattern, to be on the outside. So you're going to fold it like this, and your back of the fabric will be on the inside. In my case, it's just, it's the same on both sides, so I don't have to worry about this because it's a solid. So we're going to go all the way down. I just kind of let the iron do its thing, and I just keep folding it together. Try and keep it straight along the way. There we go. So that's our kind of little binding strip. I'm going to set that aside, and then we just need to press this guy quick as well. All right, that'll do. Okay, so next up, we're going to start putting these together. So let's sew it onto this side first. What I'm going to do is I'm going to match up the little center square with that sashing that it's supposed to match up with. So I'm going to match the seams right here, so with right sides together like this. And I can see the backs of the seams, and I should just be able to match that up to the seam edge there. And I'm going to just throw a clip in there. That's just going to be temporary. Ooh, this is thick batting. So that'll be interesting. I might try and make my seam allowances maybe a little bit smaller to like closer to 1/8 of an inch, just because this is so fat. I'm not sure. All right. We're going to actually put 3 pieces together. So we have our front sashing piece, we have our quilt, and then we're going to have this back piece. And the back, we want all the raw edges together. So this raw edge, you know, we have this nice folded edge, and then we have the 2 raw edges. Those raw edges we want next to, flip it around, next to our edges here. Flatten these guys out, and I'm going to just grab all the layers here and then re-clip. There we go. So that's, all 3 layers are now being held, and we need to just go up the row a little bit, because this is too much to hold all at once. I'd feel better having some clips in place here, holding it all. There we we go. And then let's do that down this edge as well. Sometimes easier to just match up the one, then get the other one on. Okay, so step 1 is done. All right, so now we just need to sew them all together. Let's sew our normal like 1/4 inch seam allowance. I might try and be a little shy, a little scant with that 1/4 inch seam allowance just because this is so fat. I'm worried that my binding strip won't go the entire way later. Although that shouldn't really matter. I don't think that matters. Let's just sew. Let's sew as normal. All right. Let's start. So this is kind of poofy. So I think I'm going to actually just lift this up and tuck my beginning edge underneath. And I'm getting stuck on everything already. Need to remove that. All right. This is just so that the feed dogs can help it move along a little bit at the beginning. All right, good, it caught. So we're going through a lot of fabric here. Oh, we didn't have to do any repairs on this. I didn't look. I must have looked, because that would have been silly to not do it. I must have just thought that it was good. So, yeah, hopefully we're fine and didn't need to do any repairs. It looks like we're going to cut it close on the next piece, so we'll take a look at that and see if we need to repair that at all. Should have done that before this, but that's okay. Got excited that we had pieces to use. Ooh, this is, I don't know, I could have pinned this better, I think. Although this is so poofy that it has pulled the fabric inward, so my pieces are a little bit longer. Okay, well, there we go. That's that. Let's get our leader. I think we have it on the end here. Okay, let's see what we got. I think we'll actually press that as well. All right, so this is our first little bit. So you can see it looks just like any other one of these guys, which is awesome. And then we have that raw edge on the back with our binding strip on the back as well. So we want to keep the binding strip where it is, like pointed that way. We don't want to press that one out, but this one I think it wouldn't hurt to just shush it a little bit that way. We'll just get that kind of flat just to help us out a little bit. Okay, now we're ready to attach it to our second piece. But this is where I was wondering, do we need to repair this? So, you know, this is, in theory, a lot of edge here. However, we are doing a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I mean, we'd just barely be grabbing onto stuff there. And I think we probably want to repair it up here. It must have been really bad on this one to repair it only to here. Gosh, I'm tempted to just sew this in. Let's see how close we might get. Ugh, just barely. You know what? I think we should do a repair on this. So, yeah. I'm going to just take one of my extra sashing strips here, and I'm going to just sew along along that edge basically, and then we'll flip this over, and that's just going to get us so there's fabric going all the way to the edge instead of, you know, the batting. I'm concerned about like right up here that we're not going to actually, it's more than it's like less than a 1/4 inch, but I'm just afraid that the part that we will be sewing will be so close to the edge that it might get damaged. So I think we'll just sew over that just a hair. Let's do it. Boo! So I don't know. That seems to be like one of the problems for me with the Quilt As You Go process, is that quilting pulls the fabric. So when we're doing it with just these little blocks, these 6-inch blocks, all right, that's not going to work how I wanted. Let's just get in there. But it pulls these 6-inch blocks. So I'm just going like 1/8 of an inch in or something, just along that edge, so I'm kind of going diagonal. Let's grab, oh, that one's done with. We need another one of these. Ooh, I only have like 4 pieces left before I'm gonna have to cut more fabric. Geez, I feel like we just did that. All right, let's look at that. All right, so see what I did there? Now I'm just going to press it over the edge, and we will just trim off all the excess, and that will be our little repair. Okay, I think I'll just do it with the scissors. You could use a rotary cutter for this, but sometimes the scissors is just easy. There we go. All right, so there's our repair. So that little white sliver there, you know, you can't really tell. This block still looks nice. It looks like this other side there. And since it's going to go up against more white, it's just going to kind of blend in, I think. Ultimately, I think we'll probably have to repair this top too, but I think we'll just deal with that when we have to deal with all the rest of these tops. So, all right, now we can actually sew this together. I'm going to flip this around the edge there. And we need to line up that seam there from the sashing with this sashing piece again. So just like what we did on the other side. So that cornerstone, that square, goes right in the middle. I think I'm going to have to, there, flip around like that. So we're not doing anything with the flap. That's still going to just sit there. And we're just going to align our edges. Let's just clip the rest of this edge. And then we'll just sew our 1/4 inch down there. And we will have all our pieces attached. Okay, I just had a vision of that we did this upside down. So now I got to check. All right, we're fine. That would have been silly. Well, if we end up with a set of set of 4 upside down blocks in this, I'll just take it as a, yep, I did that. Oh well. All right, I think we'll leave it. Oh, there's a last one. Couldn't find my last clip. All right, let's sew that. Yeah, Sylvia says to me, it seems like it would be easier to fix the top when it's not attached like how I'm doing now, but I just wanted it to be sewn together, so I'm erring on the side of let's just sew something. But yes, it would probably have been smart for me to just fix it right then, but I wanted to sew it together. That won out tonight. Okay, I don't think those edges are quite together. There we go. Okay, let's get that leader, and we will be ready to start that back binding. Ooh, come on. All right. So I think we have 5 pieces together. So this is our entire top. All right, it looks nice from the front. So here's that little repair. It's just this little itty bitty sliver here, this extra sliver of white. So I think I'm glad that we did that. Yeah, looks cute. Looks cute together. So, ooh, it kind of looks like I sewed it a little lower. That'll be interesting. It's kind of stair-stepped a little bit on the top and the bottom, but I'm sure I've probably done that in other places. We're just going to deal with that later. I don't want to take that out and re-sew it. But all right, so now we're left with our binding strip again. And that, I'm going to snip this off, but we'll be able to flip this over and start doing our hand binding. And I think I might actually just start that up tomorrow night, now that we're attached, because we just don't have that much time left. But this is awesome. So we're going to have 2 full rows done. The next step is we could try and attach those 2 rows, but I think we'll wait for a later date for that. I think we'll just get the other ones together and like start our row 3 and let that be for a later date, because that's going to be a whole thing and I'll want to start that right away, I think. So I think next week though, or next month when we work on this, I think it's time to make a few more blocks. Gotta get ahead on that too yet. But all right, so this is the new one that we attached. Tomorrow we will do our cover up of our raw edges there. But it's looking good. All right, I will show you guys what it looks like here as well. All right, so hello again. So here is, let's see if I can back up a bit. This is, so this piece right here is the one we added, and this is what it's looking like all together. I mean, it looks like a row of a quilt, and it's all quilted and everything already. So that's pretty awesome. And then we have, so here's that one again. That's the bit that we got to do yet. So we just have the 2 rows, and then we will have 3, I think, in the next row. So we'll need 2 more, which is 8 more blocks that we have to make to do those 2 more, and then we'll have, what is it? It'll be like another 20 blocks. Ugh. Okay, so we got like 28 blocks or so. Nah, more than that. 10, 20... Yeah, 28 blocks on this thing still. But hey, that's, I thought we weren't that much further over 50. My math might be wrong. Oh, I am. It's 48 blocks because we have 2 full rows to do, so 48. Well, that's more like reality hitting me there. So 48 more blocks to make. But at least the 52 that we have done will be sewn and quilted. That's nice. Awesome. So Thanks again, you guys, for joining me here. We'll get this row done tomorrow for sure. And I don't know, maybe we'll even see what block is next. Maybe we'll work on a block this week yet again. We'll see. So thanks again, and we'll check it out tomorrow. Have a great evening. Good night, you guys.